Welcome everyone to an APH webinar. This is the Mat Connect and using Mat Connect for distant classroom activities. We are so glad to have you join us today. As you are getting in, please feel free to write in the chat where you are from. We're so glad to have you. And then we've also launched our first poll, which gives us information as to who is with us today. What is your job title, where you're from by region of the United States or other, and then how you heard about this webinar, so we make sure that we're getting information out in the right places to let you know about the so many things that we are offering. Again, I'm going to say welcome to the Mat Connect, using Mat Connect for distant classroom activities. If you are also here for ACV REP credit, your opening code for today is courage. Your opening code today is courage. What you do, if you've never done it before, is you stay with us the whole hour, collect that closing code and send it to outreach@aph.org. Please send them together. That helps us out quite a bit, and do allow for 7 days to receive that certificate via email. So again, your opening code is courage. Welcome Rhode Island, welcome Illinois, glad to have you. Hello Western New York, glad you're with us today. Glenn, as you're coming in, there is a poll. You are welcome to tell us what your job title is and where you are from and how you heard about this webinar. Welcome Florida, welcome Alabama, glad to have you with us today. If you are collecting ACV REP credit, our opening code word is courage. Courage. Welcome Tennessee, welcome Los Angeles, California. Glad to have you with us today. Again, you are here for Mat Connect, using the Mat Connect for distant classroom activities. Your opening code for ACV REP credit is courage. Welcome Oklahoma, glad to have you. Welcome Northwest PA. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the poll just so we have an idea of who is with us today. We have 59% teachers of the visually impaired, 12% low vision specialists, 7% voc rehab, 12% assistive technology specialists, and then a few college faculty, state administration, students in a college program, an adult consumer, and a bit of other. You are from all over the United States, but most in the northeast of the US. And then thank you for letting us know how you heard about this webinar. That helps us out. So again, for the very last time verbally, I will tell you that your opening code for ACV REP credit is courage. And again, I'll welcome you to the Mat Connect, using Mat Connect for distant classroom activities. Jim, all yours.
Thanks, Leanne, and welcome everyone. Glad that you could be with us today, and super glad to have Eric and Natalie joining us again from HumanWare. As we get started today with Mat Connect, using the Mat Connect for distance classroom activities, we'll talk a little bit about our agenda for today. So we're going to go through objectives momentarily, and then we're really going to get into a discussion and review of different things that are going on in the classroom that are taking place at a distance that are a challenge for some of your students who have low vision. So we'll get into a discussion and some examples of some of those distance tasks, and we'll review distance reading types of activities, helpful gestures that your kids can use with the Mat Connect for being able to see and make observations at a distance, and then Eric's going to get into troubleshooting. As we move throughout the course of the next hour, and today's webinar will be 1 hour, we do encourage you to drop the questions in the chat. Like we do every week, we will have a few poll questions that we'll ask you to share some ideas with us on. And I think what we want to do is start with our first poll question, as it is Friday. So Leanne, do you want to take that, or would you like me?
Sure. Well, if you were going to have dinner tonight, and I hope all of you will have dinner tonight at some point, where will you go? Your choices are the pub to get fish and chips, the drive-thru for burgers and fries, the taco truck, on the couch for a TV dinner, getting dressed up for a fancy Italian dinner, or other. And tell us in that chat what your other is. I already see pizza and wings and Rivertown barbecue. Mary's going to cook at home. Zoom dinner with friends. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
So it doesn't look like anybody wants to get dressed up, though, from what I can tell.
No. Quintos for lobster on the water outside sounds fabulous. Barbecue at home, distance cocktails, homemade lasagna, spicy chicken thighs and rice, cooking at home. So let's see on at least our results. 33% said couch and TV dinner, 35 lots of other, a little bit of everything else, but nobody is getting dressed up for a fancy Italian dinner. I think we've all switched to our PJs and t-shirts.
All right, so as we get started and before we get into the objectives, just a bit of information. APH has been working with a product for the last year or so called the Tact Plus. This is a solution that you can use to create tactile graphics. It is really like the POF solution. It uses a capsule paper and allows you to take images like what you might pull out of the APH tactile graphic library and be able to print them to paper. So what we'd ask you to do if you get a chance is take a look at this solution online. We'll be doing more information about this in the coming weeks. The cost of the device is about $3,700 with printer and paper. It is not a quota product, so it's not something you can purchase on quota funds. I'm not really sure how well this map is going to come out. For those of you, just a description, this is a tactile map that's created with the Tact Plus. It's a snapshot of Central and Southern California and really sort of outlines sort of how the image would swell up and how the kids would be able to sort of follow, say, the coast of California and be able to specifically identify, say, the Bay Area, which is shown by San Francisco Bay and some of the areas around Richmond and whatnot in California. So our objectives for today, the participants will identify at least 2 distance viewing tasks that can be completed with the Mat Connect distance camera. Our participants will identify at least 3 types of reading materials that can be viewed in split screen mode with the Mat Connect. The participants will learn at least 3 gestures for using the split screen function of the Mat Connect. And then finally, the participant will review at least 3 troubleshooting tips for working with the distance camera. And joining us from north of the border is Eric Beauchamp. He is the Director of Product. And joining him is Natalie Rayon. She is the Low Vision Product Manager for HumanWare. So we're so glad that they could be with us today. Justine Taylor is not able to join us. She's got a few other things that are going on. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to throw it over to you, Eric. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Jim. Thank you very much, Leanne, for having us today. And it's great to be here for another webinar. I don't know how many I did since the COVID situation, but it seems like 100 webinars that I did at least. But I love these things because I can communicate my knowledge and my passion to you guys for devices that bring independence to people with that are visually impaired. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you again. And we'll be talking about something that I'm very passionate about, the Mat Connect and the distance viewing. How can we get that information? Because a big part of school is getting that information that is at distance. So let's switch to my little camera here. I have a tripod right next to me. I hope this is gonna work. I'm just gonna switch my camera. There we go. So I got my Mat Connect. And you know what I'll start doing is that I saw those objectives, but I'm going to start by maybe troubleshooting tactics. Or let's say a student is going to take out this little camera here. That is the distance camera. It's a Wi-Fi camera. It's a Kodak Pix Pro SL10, which means that it's a 10x optical zoom, but it has also numerical zoom that goes in farther. Now, people, before you ask, some people are going to ask me, how far can I zoom in, or how far can I be to have a good image from the board or something like that? I would say 10 to 15 feet, not would be a good average distance for this distance camera. Now, usually when you carry, or the student will carry the distance camera, it will be in the bag, it will get hid in the bag and things like that, and maybe the student will take it up, try to turn it on, and it doesn't turn on. The little button here on the on my camera, right on the top, there's a little power button. When you press on it, it doesn't turn on. I'm going to show you why, and maybe that could be helpful for you in the future. But I'm just going to go around this camera to show you what's on this hardware. If I turn the camera here, I got a little pivot button here which goes up and down for zoom in or zoom out, so you can feel that very nicely tactically. And then there's a little button right beside it to take a capture. But I'll show you also, you can use it, you can use these buttons on the camera, but you can also use it on the software, the Prodigy software. Right beside it, there's a little USB port that is connected, that you can connect your USB so that you're able to charge it. And you know what? And people are gonna ask me, well, it doesn't last, this camera doesn't last. What I do is, what I like doing is I bought like a little external battery pack that I can just plug in to that camera, and you're gonna have a full day's work or a full day's school with the camera. If I turn the camera again, I got this little, well, I have that big door, and this is where the battery is, okay? That comes with the camera. And on the door, there's a password and the Wi-Fi name of the camera. So the reason why my camera right now doesn't start is that sometimes when the camera gets hit or transported, the little battery here, it unclips. As you can see, there's a little yellow clip that holds that battery. Sometimes the battery just goes up, and that clip doesn't hold the battery anymore securely in its socket. So just take a look and just press on that battery so that the clip is fully holding the battery. Once you do that, if I press the power button, it should turn on. There you go. So I have my distance camera that has been turned on. That's one troubleshooting aspect of this camera. So we fixed that. It doesn't power on, but now I have it fixed. The other thing I'm going to show you to troubleshoot, let's say I have my camera. I go into my distance application. My camera's on, but I go into my distance application in Prodigy, and as you're going to see, there's going to be a pop-up saying, well, please turn on your camera, but my camera's on. What do you do? Mine, I turned it off to simulate what's going to happen here. You're going to have a please turn on the distance camera. If it's on and you have that message, that means that the camera has not been connected or not been paired, or it just lost the pairing to the tablet. So what you want to do is go into the settings. The settings on the button banner at the bottom is a second button on the left-hand side with the gears on. So you just tap on that, and inside this menu, the last option at the bottom is the Wi-Fi setup. So you tap on the Wi-Fi setup, turn on the Wi-Fi if it's not on, but go into Wi-Fi networks once it's on. And if your camera is on, you should be able to see your camera, which I'm not seeing right now, but that's good. That's a good example. If you don't see it and you want to refresh your Wi-Fi, you can either tap on scan for Wi-Fi. It's going to start scanning. If that doesn't work, you can go back, that little button on the top left corner, and go back into networks. Mine's in my saved because I was simulating this. I should have forgotten it. There we go. Let's try it. Because the difference between my Wi-Fi networks is all the networks that I can connect to. My saved networks are the ones that my Mac Connect remembers, and they're going to be there. But usually I should see it in my network. Okay, we're going to go in my saved, and I'm going to forget this. So I'm going to do it for real, which it doesn't allow. You see,
Eric, while you're explaining how
Yep,
to put
sure.
the camera on Wi-Fi, can you precise that it's not the Wi-Fi from the school, but the Wi-Fi from
Absolutely.
the Connect? Thank you.
Okay. So right now, that's another troubleshooting aspect of this. I cannot forget my Wi-Fi here because it was not configured in Prodigy. So that means that I went outside to configure or connect to my camera. So to do that, I'm just going to go here, and there's going to be a little settings icon here. You don't have to do that. Usually you can do it all through Prodigy, but in my case, I have to do it this way because it was programmed outside. But this is a good example where it could happen to you, and this is how you would fix it. So I just forgotten my Wi-Fi for my camera. And again, like Natalie was saying, is that when I talk about Wi-Fi, it doesn't mean the internet for this case, for the camera. It means the protocol or the communication, the language that I'm going to use to communicate with the tablet. That's what I mean by Wi-Fi. So when I'm connecting to my camera, I cannot use or I cannot go on the internet. So let's try this again. Now I go on my Wi-Fi, I can see that I see my camera Wi-Fi, which is the name of this camera, which is Pix Pro SL10, which remember, that's the brand name of the, or the model of the camera, SL10. And then those 4 last digits are different for everybody. Mine is BEB9, so I'm just gonna tap on that. It's gonna say connect, so I'm gonna connect to it, and then it's gonna prompt you for a password. It's gonna be the same password for any camera, which is very simple to remember. It is 1, 2, here I'm going to put it so that you guys can see it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's that simple. And all the cameras out there have the same password. So you just tap OK. And now I am connected to my camera. So that was a nice troubleshooting aspect of all this. That's pretty nice. So we're going to go back, hitting that little back button on the top left corner, and I should be able to take a look. See, now I got that active. Perfect. I'm just going to go back to my main menu because I'm going to present to you another hardware piece. This is, I call this the gooseneck, and usually it is screwed into the camera right at the bottom. I took it out for to start the webinar because I needed access to my little door to show you where the battery is. If you can just unscrew or screw it back. So we're just going to screw it back. And once you're using the distance camera, you can either put it on the right hand side or the left hand side, depending on which side you want to use it. And again, the gooseneck permits you to turn this distance camera to the left or to the right, up and down, and you can even do a face, some grooming task if you want. So you can have the camera facing you, and if you like. So this camera rotates 360 degrees, and you don't have to rotate the whole device while using the distance camera. So let's do this. So I'm a student. I'm gonna turn on my distance camera. I'm gonna go into my distance application inside my Prodigy suite. And I have a little exercise here, a math exercise that I have. So now you see my basement, but I'm in my basement right now. I'm not at the office. And I've set up some math example here on the blackboard. Are you seeing this right, Jim? Is that all right? Or is there too much reflection?
So the reflection is only in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, but that is much better. Whatever you just did is,
okay.
Or whatever Leanne just did.
Good. All right, so I can see myself here. Good. All right. So I got a little math example. I have my example right here. So 6 plus 4 and 7 plus 9, which are the two equations on here. And I'm the student. What I'll do is that I have my little pencil. Again, I sharpen my pencil so it's a bit lower than the regular pencil so that I can go underneath and write my answers. So But right now I'm just looking at distance, and the teacher is explaining to me how to do the 6 plus 4 is equal to 10. And to zoom in, if I want to zoom in, there's two options for the student. You can do either a pinch and zoom, okay? Well, there's three options. So you got the pinch and zoom, which is going to zoom in at always at one interval at a time. So I just find that a bit slow. If you want to zoom in a bit faster, what you can do is at the buttons at the bottom, on the right hand side, there's a plus and there's a minus button. So on the plus button, you can just press and hold on that button. And what it will do is just gradually zoom in for you. And look at that image quality. I'm on a blackboard, a chalkboard right now. I've erased several times on the chalkboard, and you still have that nice contrast with the chalk and the black and a bit of white underneath because I've erased some answers there. And then, like I said, if I want to see the 6 plus 4, I can just rotate a bit my distance camera, and then I can move it down a bit to see the answer. There we go, got the 10 here. That's one way of zooming in or zooming out, because you can use the minus button to zoom out, or I can use the physical buttons on the camera. So I can feel those buttons, that rocking button, so I can zoom in or zoom out from the camera button, it does a really nice job. But that's very nice. So now the teacher says, okay, guys, I need you to solve the 7 plus 9. So what I need to do is I need to see my exercise underneath the Mat Connect. So there's a nice feature in the Mat Connect, which is it does a split screen between your near view and your distance viewing. And to activate that, you can just tap on that little arrow that's on the left hand of the screen, and just tap on that, and it's going to start my near view camera, which is the camera underneath here, which is on the tablet camera. In this view, there's a red rectangle at the bottom. That means that I have right now, I can do some gestures in that area so that it's going to respond. So let's say I want to zoom in to my 7 plus 9 here. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit further in so I can see. And I have my 7 plus 9, exactly like I have here on the board, like the teacher was saying. This is the equation that I need you to solve. So what I want to do is that I want to do the same thing. So I'm just going to move my page, again, using my little pencil here. And I can put my hand underneath, and I'm going to write my answer, which is 16. So I've written my answer. I have listened to the teacher at the same time talking, and I can do this at the same time. If this little screen is not appropriate or is not big enough for the student, what you can do is that or she can do or he can do, just tap on that bottom part. And what that's going to do is that it's going to bring you to the magnifier automatically. So here you can, another gesture on the right hand side, you can use this gesture right here to go to negative. So it's going to put me in white on black, or do it a second time. It's going to bring me back to my positive. A third time will bring me back to my color image. So these are gestures that you can use. And then I've answered 16 on my equation. I want to go back to my distance viewing, but not in split screen. I want to have the full view. Another gesture that you can use is from the left hand of the screen to the right, just swipe. And it's going to change automatically very quickly from one application to the other by doing that. So one to the magnifier, a second time back to my distance viewing camera. This is how you can switch very quickly. For the student, you can switch very quickly between the two applications. So I have to zoom in really closely here, and I need that full screen in order to be able to read what's on the board. Then I can just swipe and have that full screen again for that the magnifier, and have different color scheme if I want to. If I do a negative, yep.
Hey, can you do us a favor? That button over on the left-hand side where you're splitting the screen, could you take a moment, to zero in on that, maybe describe the shape of it and the location of it a little bit more for the audience?
Absolutely. So the button to split the screen is on the left-hand side of the screen, in the middle of the screen, and it looks like it's an arrow, or it's a half a triangle. that's going to be pointing to the right. And that little triangle or that little arrow will be inside a half a circle, a white circle. And let's say if I take my camera here, if I can put it a bit closer here, this is the button I'm talking about right here. So again, it's a half white circle in my case because I have my color scheme in black on white. So it's a white circle, and in the white circle, there is an arrow. And maybe people are gonna say, well, I don't have that feature. So the question I'm gonna ask, if you don't have that feature, you don't have that, you can't find that button, what you'll do is that I'm gonna use another cool gesture that I always use all the time is 2-finger double tap. It's going to bring me to my main carousel or my main menu. What you want to do is that you're going to go into settings. So you're going to swipe to the settings. And then in the settings, you're going to go down to the about option. And right now, the latest version for Prodigy, the Prodigy software that's installed on the Mac Connect, is Prodigy 4.3.0 8352. If you don't have that, you need to update your tablet. So to do that, you go back one up in the settings again, and then you're going to choose in that window, you're going to choose the system settings. And then in system, you'll have an option called software setup, which is a third option down the list. If you tap on that and you're connected to the Wi-Fi, to the internet, it's going to search to see if there is a software update. If there is, it's going to ask you to install it. If not, in my case, I'm up to date. It's going to tell me that I'm up to date. I just tap on OK. All right.
Okay, Eric, we had a few questions on batteries, charging the distance camera and external batteries.
Yep.
So I want to say that to charge the distance camera, you have to charge the battery within the camera. The batteries can be taken outside, and you can also purchase an external battery that you can charge outside of your camera.
I'm going to show you a little trick there, Nelly, and maybe
Yeah.
the people listening. I'm going to take off my distance camera here to show you. But if you want to only use the battery pack and not the battery, you can do that. That's something I didn't know you can do, but I tried it this week. So you take out that little battery. And then what you want to do is that open that little door, the USB door, use the cable that came with your battery pack, but it's a normal mini USB cable that is used for electronic devices, any of them. You can use that, and then connect that, and connect the other end to your battery. Boom. And then that should turn on. If my batteries, see, it turned on, and I can use my distance camera. So now that I don't have a battery, I took it out, but I'm using now my big battery pack. So I can have that on the side. This kind of battery pack is a 5,000 milliampere per hour battery. That's going to last you approximately about 4 to 4.5 hours of use with a distance camera. So you can have that on your gooseneck, sitting right beside the Mac Connect. And what I've seen also is that students have battery packs just like I did here, and they put a little Velcro. If I turn my device around, put a little Velcro here. So I tried it out with another battery pack, and my other battery pack here, I put a Velcro here, and you can just have it Velcroed there, and then have the wire going down to your battery and to your camera. So that's a nice little setup. Again, 5,000 milliampere per hour. We'll do about 4 to 4.5 hours of use for your distance camera. So a nice little setup that you can do.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric. Maybe it's time for Leanne to show us some other questions. And in the meantime, Eric, we've had some requests. If you could move your camera so we can see it better for the rest of the demo. Thank you.
It's the reflection that doesn't work?
It's probably the size.
So you want it closer. Okay.
So while he's getting that set up, We would like to know, what are students struggling to observe in the classroom, meaning observing at a distance? The options we put were to see my teacher's expressions, to see a chemical compound changing color, to read the word wall in the classroom, to copy notes from the whiteboard, or all of the above. And in the chat, please add the other things that you were thinking about. What are your students struggling to observe in the classroom at a distance? So one of the others was the PowerPoint. Following the teacher who's speaking. What's interesting is we'll probably have an idea of what age level you guys are working with when we check this one out. So the results were only 4% were saying to see the teacher's expressions, 2% chemical compounds, 4% reading the word wall, but 46% copying notes from the whiteboard, and 43% all of the above, such as materials when working with teams or groups, the smart board more than a whiteboard now. So that kind of gives you an idea of what they're doing. Any handwritten notes, especially math? Okay, Eric.
I like the whiteboard. The whiteboard, is it an intelligent whiteboard, or is it just a whiteboard instead of a blackboard?
A whiteboard is often used as the generic surface that just has a marker on it, where
Okay.
a smart board is often the term used for a computerized technology that often has the ability to write on it, but is most people will not write on it for fear of something else getting on it.
So the whiteboard is kind of like the blackboard that I have there. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So I showed you a couple of setups here that you can use with the distance camera. If you have a smart board, you have several other options that you can use to connect to the smart board. Smart boards usually is a computer, which you can talk to your IT department, and there's several applications that can be used. I'm thinking here of Splashtop, I think it's called, TeamViewer, VNC. I use a lot the Chrome Remote Desktop, which is a plugin that you can install on Chrome and install the application on the Mat Connect and use that. Very easy to set up. Join Me, which is another one. But so there's several options out there, but you need the installation on the Mat Connect and on the smart board to be able to view the smart board. And we had a nice little webinar last time on that. Is this better as a view? Am I closer to my Mat Connect? Is that good?
You are, and I will tell you, Eric, that webinar, we need a repeat because I mistakenly hit stop record instead of resume record.
Oh,
so
no.
we need you again.
So we'll do another one. And
Okay.
I think it was a popular webinar.
It was.
So I'm just gonna reconnect to my distance camera here. Oh, and I got the message twice also. Don't worry, if you get those messages, just hit the back button and go back in. It should solve itself. And you just hit that zoom in. So we're gonna zoom in again. So again, I'm just gonna explain that little button on the left-hand side. It's right here. We're a bit closer now to the camera. That could help. Also to view it, it's like a half circle, white circle with a little arrow in it pointing to the right. You just tap on that, and what's gonna happen is that screen is gonna be split in half. And you'll have at the bottom, you'll have your live image, which right now I'm in negative format. And when the red rectangle is around that, you can do some gestures in that area. So I can zoom in right now on my near. If I tap on the above, and that red rectangle is on the top, that means I'm in my distance viewing. I can only use the pinch and zoom. And again, like I said, pinch and zoom will only do one increment at a time. So it's better off to set your zoom and then split the screen. And then if you want to choose one of the two applications, once that red rectangle is around that part of the screen, just tap a second time and you'll be brought automatically to that, that application. There's also another very quick way to go back and forth is a swipe from left to right. And here I'm in negative. Let's put it back to color. That nice little gesture is like a swipe on the right-hand side. Just go from top to bottom of the screen, and it will toggle from color, negative, positive, and color. You don't need to go quick. Normal, a normal speed will activate that gesture. So very nice gesture. And again, that swipe to go back. What I want to show you also in the distance viewing camera is that you can do the OCR if I want to. So let's say I have something in class that has text, and I like to keep it or have the OCR done on that text. What I can do is that I'm going to zoom in on this text that I have there in my example. I'm just going to point it to that text, and then I'm going to take a capture. And another thing, if the focus is not right, what you can do is that you can tap on the screen and a circle will show. A red circle will show in the screen. If it's red, that means it's focusing. If it's green, that means the focus has been done at that spot where you wanted that focus done. So if the focus is not right, just tap anywhere on the screen and it will do the focus at that spot. Okay, once I'm done, I can take a picture. So by tapping on the third button from the left of my button banner, which is a camera button, which is going to capture it. What it's going to do, it's going to capture it, store it in the camera, and then transfer it to the tablet automatically in my gallery. So to go to my gallery, again, two finger, double tap. You're brought to the main menu, and then you can go into your gallery application. And in my gallery application, if you scroll to the left, you'll have a distance folder. In this distance folder, what you'll have is all the images that you've taken at distance. If you want to have the OCR done on that specific image, what you need to do is that you move it to the root of the gallery. So press and hold on the image you want the OCR done. That's going to pop up an action menu for you, and you'll have to go and move to the gallery. So I've moved it to the gallery, and the next time I'm going to open it, you'll have that progress circle turning. That means it's doing the OCR on it. That's a progress circle. It's going to try to detect some text. If it finds text, it's going to replace it by our diamond edge technology, which only means computer font, really. And as you can see, it found some text, and I can zoom in. I can zoom in as far as I want without losing any image quality. That's pretty nice. And I can also change the contrast color if I want. I still have access to that gesture, negative, positive, and then color, and then come back to diamond edge. You see the difference
Sorry, Eric.
in the image
Can,
quality? Yes.
yes, can you describe your gesture? Because now the tablet is very close to us, so we can hardly see your gesture. So if you can say that you're swiping from top to bottom or things like that, it will be better for our viewers.
Okay. So the gesture I just did here is the swipe from top to bottom on the right-hand side, top to bottom. So I got negative. Again, that's on my live, well, my color image, negative. And then I swipe again from top to bottom. I'll have positive. Swipe again from top to bottom. Go back to color. You'll see the difference between the diamond edge image quality and the real color quality. This is the real color right now. And if I do another swipe from top to bottom, I'll be going to diamond edge, which replaced the text into computer font. I can have the text read out to me if I want to. I can press and hold on that word, and it's going to start reading. If I had my audio on, right now I don't, so I'm in line mode also. Do I have my audio? Oh, yes, I do. I'm just on mute. So, and I'm in French also, so it's trying to read English in a French language as a French person, so that's good. That's a good example also. So if you can have two languages set up in your Mat Connect. For United States, let's say, for example, Spanish and English, and you have that Spanish voice on, you can select another voice, which is install. What I just did here is I tapped on my settings button, which is the second button from the left of the button banner, which has the gears on. Tap on that, and then you'll go down the list and you'll find voice. And right now I'm on Louise, which is a French name. And I'm just gonna tap on that voice option. It's gonna change to Heather. Now I'm gonna have that right accent, the right English accent, and it's gonna read out really nicely the words for me. And also, so, so I'm reading in English. I can read out, and there's 3 different modes of reading that you can have. Right now I'm in line mode. If I want to change it to a different reading mode, I can tap on the settings menu again, which is the second button from the left-hand side, and go down my list to reading mode, which I have selected as line, but I can have column. Column will have only, it's going to move up and down and not from left to right. So it's really easy to follow. Or I can have in page mode, which is going to show you where the images are in the document. So I'm going to put it into page mode. If I zoom out here, and if I have some images, my images are going to be there. So I know exactly where I am on the page here. Okay.
Eric, somebody's asking us about the settings and the brightness in the gallery. While you're in the settings, can you show us that, please?
Yes, if I go back to the settings, and remember these settings are, I'm going to say contextual. I think you can say that in English, right? That means that the settings have been adapted to where you are in the application. So right now I'm in the reading part of the application, and I have access to specific settings for that part. And the brightness will just, if you tap on the brightness, right now it's at 50%, and I just tapped on it, and I can use a plus or the minus, or you just froze. Let's go back. Go back into brightness, and it doesn't work. Wow, okay. So we found a bug, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll mark that down for the next in the next version, but that is a bug. Usually when you have that brightness, you'll have brightness 50%, and you can adjust it by pressing the plus and the minus button that are going to show up. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring the brightness of the screen higher up, and you'll have that better viewing quality. I'm just curious here, if I go into my settings in my main menu and go into, I think it is an interface. No, so it's really a bug in the brightness. All right. I don't know if I answered the question. I'm sorry I can't demonstrate it, but we did find a bug. So usually that could happen. If you do report a bug, you can report it, email it to a HumanWare or call in, and we'll try to solve it for the version after. And that really, can we go to a poll? Because I'm going to get my ideas where I'm going here.
I can definitely do that. Okay, yeah, it throws you when you run into one of those. So a minute ago, we were talking about different desktop sharing applications. And as you heard, I need to record another session talking about those. So what desktop sharing applications are your schools or students currently using? I just realized I didn't put multiple in there. So if you have and really wanted to put 2 answers, you can put your second answer in the chat. Or if we missed one, please put it in the chat, because we want to make a determination of which ones to see if there are something that will work with the Mac Connect, realizing it's an Android system, and some of these, it depends on the platform you're using. So the choices are BlueJeans, Join.me, TeamViewer, Windows Remote Desktop Connection, Splashtop, ScreenLeap, freeconferencecall.com, and then other. And you could have more. I know you can't choose 2, so put your second choice in there. Pick your top choice, the top one that you feel is being used. So of course we forgot Zoom, which I do find a little funny. That's that we're using it and we didn't add it to our list. Google Classroom as another one, Microsoft Teams. So if you have others, please put them in the chat so that we can work to provide the next webinar utilizing some of those that you mentioned, or let you know if they are or not accessible in an Android system. So I'll end that poll and share with you the results. We did have quite a few other, 26 other, and thank you for letting us know what those were. The largest ones were join.me at 24% and TeamViewer at 21%, but there were a smattering of other ones in there, so it's good for us to know what ones we need to talk about. So thank you, thank you. How you doing, Eric?
I'm getting back in there. I love those answers, and I saw MS Teams pass by in the chat, which is something new for me, which Microsoft did a really nice job with Microsoft Teams. My son was using it to do some homeschooling also, and his teacher used that as a platform, and it's really cool because you can have assignments passed down to the students. You have a section for assignments, you have a section for exams, you have a section where you can put some workload. And so that's a really nice application with all these applications. But I just found that MS Teams evolved really nicely during the situation we're living in, and we all learned all different systems to go and learn and work at distance. Good. So like I said, I like the Chrome remote desktop, which is a really nice application. It's free also. What you want to do is that you can go into Android by doing a 4-finger or 5-finger press and hold, and then go into the Play Store and search for that application. You can search for all the applications. Right now, that's a good thing here. I locked my Mat Connect for the student, so the student cannot go into the Play Store, and I have to enter my password, which is really not that hard. But really, you go into my my Play Store and see, I already tried searching here for join.me, but you can search for a remote desktop, and you'll have several applications that will be offered for you. And you have Chrome remote desktop that you can install, so you can click on that. I have already installed it on mine. You can open it and configure your computer on the smart board to work with the Chrome remote desktop, which again is a plugin that you can use and install on the Chrome browser. I'm just going to switch here. I'm just going to show you here on my computer really quickly where in Chrome it's going to be installed. But basically what you want to do is, this is my Chrome browser. Everybody can see my Chrome browser, right? Just confirm.
Confirm?
Yep.
Yes.
So what you want to do is that in Google, type in Chrome remote desktop, and then you'll find a link to chrome.google.com. Click on that, and what's going to happen is that it's going to ask you, do you want to install Chrome remote desktop? And you say, yes, I have already installed it. So that's why it says remove Chrome. But basically where it's going to go on top right here. I don't know if everybody can see my mouse, but it's going to go on the top right corner, right beside my login. But this is where it's going to be. Once you click on that little icon, you'll be brought to the application, and it's going to say set up remote access. You're going to say yes. So there's one button, so you turn that on. You enter a name of the computer. So mine automatically took the name of my computer here. I can press next, and then it's going to ask you for a PIN. So I'm just going to write an easy one here. I'm going to put some, I have to retype it. Oh, needs 6. There we go. And then once you have those 6 numbers, you press the start button. And then you say yes, because now Windows is saying that you need to be an administrator on your laptop or your computer. And then it's going to say, well, your computer is online, what you want to do after that is go back to your Mat Connect. Now, this setup here is all done on your smart board. And then you go back to your Mat Connect, to your Chrome Remote Desktop, open that application. And then usually it should, it should be in here, or you can just do the learn here. And then it's going to tell you how to connect, but I thought I had already set it up. Okay, so I'm not set up to do this, but you'll see your computer here, and you'll be able to see the screen on my my smart board. So I'm going to hit the home button, go back to my Prodigy because we're talking about the distance camera. So just to do a little recap, distance camera is a Wi-Fi camera. Again, I'm not talking about the internet. I'm talking here about the protocol or the connection that it's going to use to connect to the tablet. You have two buttons on the camera, which helps you zoom in, zoom out, do a capture with the button here on the camera. At the bottom, there's a little door for your USB charging, which you can use with an external battery. Underneath, there's the door for the battery, which you need to unscrew the gooseneck. And then on the top, there is a nice little button to turn it on. So I'm just going to turn on my camera, go into my distance application. Once it's connected, I'll see what I'm seeing at distance. And there's a couple of gestures. I'm just doing here a summary, but I can use the button banner. On the button banner, there are the back button, the settings button, and again, the settings button is contextual to the distance application. So you have the color contrast, of what is on my swipe. And then you got the color contrast where it's going to change the text to different colors. So right now mine is set as default, which is the black on white. And then you have the Wi-Fi setup, which we use at the beginning of the webinar to connect to my my camera if it's not detected and if it's not paired or it lost the pairing to the device. The button after the third button is the capture button, and then you have the plus, the minus, and the plus to zoom in or zoom out. Those plus and the minus, just keep your finger on that button. It's going to zoom in very nicely and very smoothly to the right level that you're comfortable in. Same thing for the minus. If you press and hold
Eric,
on that, it's going to zoom.
can you move your Mat Connect a little bit because we have a big reflection. Yeah, that's
There we
good.
go.
Thank you.
Tap and hold on the minus so you zoom in very smooth, zoom out very smoothly, and the same for the plus. That's what I was saying here. So now you can see on my screen. You have the capture button, which is going to store automatically your captured images in the gallery, in the distance folder in the gallery. And then on the left-hand side, there's a half circle with an arrow in it. If you tap on that, you'll have a split screen feature, which is going to split the screen into two. The bottom one is the near view, and I can zoom into my near view, or the top one is my distance viewing, which I can zoom in and zoom out on my distance. If I want to go to that application, you tap on it and you're at that application. Another way to very quickly move between the two is your swipe from left to right, and it's going to swipe from one application to the other. And I'm saying the distance and the magnifier application. And that's about it for distance viewing. You can use also all the nice applications to connect to a smart board. Also, like the remote desktop, the Zoom application, the MS Teams application, which is very nice. And I think we'll do a webinar on that again. I think it could be really appreciated.
Okay, Eric, somebody's asking if the split screen works with screen shares.
Right now, the split screen only works with the magnifier application and the distance application. We're working on a new version of Prodigy for September, and you'll be able to share the screen with a document in your gallery. Or even the books application. So, but it will not split the screen with a sharing application.
Thank you, Eric. That's all the question we had regarding distance camera. Earlier today, somebody asked us questions about the calculator and the formulas. So if we have no more questions, maybe we can go into the calculator.
Sure. On the Prodigy, there is an option to have a calculator. If I do my two-finger double tap, I'm back into my main menu. And I scroll all the way to the left. In my main menu, there is a calculator application. That calculator application can be configured in 3 different modes. Right now, I'm in graphical mode, but if you tap on the settings menu, which is on the top left corner of the screen with the gears on it, you'll be brought to the settings menu. And again, the settings menu is contextual to the calculator. What you have on here is the mode, the grid color, the angles that you want to use the calculator. So if you go into mode, right now I'm in graphing calculator, but you can have a scientific and a standard. So let's start with the standard, just to do something very quick. Standard will be just your standard equations, plus, minus, divide. So it's really basic calculator with that 00. I'm just pointing out that 00 because it's going to change when I'm going to change my mode into scientific. If I go into scientific mode, the 00 changed with a 2 arrow button. That, if you tap on that, you'll have all the logarithmic functions available to you, but that will only calculate a numerical value. If you enter an equation on here, it will only do a numerical value for you. But if you really want to have the real power of this calculator, is to go into your graphing calculator, again, the settings menu, which is on the top left corner button, and then you go into mode, graphing, and then go back to your calculator, and let's try to graph something here. I'm going to say y is equal to, and I'm going to use that little 2 arrow button again, which is on the left hand side corner, and I'm going to say sine x. No, that's got to delete x, and then finish the brackets, and then I'm going to click on the graph button, and what that's going to do, it's going to generate a graph of that sine function for me, and so I can zoom in very nicely in the graphing mode, and I can follow, or I can place anywhere in with my finger on the line, and I will get some coordinates of where I am on the function. Again, all this, I can change the colors, I can adapt the colors to that. So very quickly, that was the calculator. And again, the engine behind this is the Desmos calculator.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Do we have any other questions?
No, somebody's asking if we can do split screen with the calculator and the distance camera, but you already answered that question.
For now, we only do the split screen on the near view and the distance for now. It doesn't say that we'll be, it could happen that we can support other things eventually. And like I said, we're working on sharing the distance with a document from the gallery. What that's going to be very powerful, because then you can import a PDF in your gallery and open that PDF and have it split screen with your distance. So that will be coming in the future version.
Okay. It's almost 1 o'clock, but maybe one last question. Somebody's asking if we can capture an image from the graph that we made.
Well, you can't really capture an image, but you can take a screenshot of your graph. So let's redo my graph here. So it's going to generate my graph again. I can hide the button banner just by doing a little swipe from top to bottom where my button banner is, and I got full view of my graph. And then what you want to do is that you want to hold the power button and the volume, I think that's down, and that will take a screenshot of that graph. That's how you can take a picture of that graph.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric. So I think we went over all the questions, so I can pass the mic back to Jim.
Yeah, am I sharing my screen, Leanne?
You're doing great.
Yes.
All right, so we'll wrap this up quickly. So as always, thanks so much for the HumanWare team for joining us. Just a reminder before we give you that closing code, we've got a busy week next week for our at-home webinars. There will be a Lego Foundation webinar on Monday afternoon and Monday evening. The APH team will do an overview of the Mantis Cordy 40 with your iOS and Mac OS
And
devices.
one piece of information, that Lego Foundation will not be recorded. So if you want to attend that, the live session is the only one available.
Very good. And I think Leanne is putting this information in the chat. On Wednesday of next week, we will introduce you to 2 new Braille embossers and talk a little bit about tactile graphics and using Braille Blaster. And then on Friday of next week, Daniel Kish is going to join us for a presentation called Freedom of Movement. So we would encourage you to join us if you can. One last thanks to the HumanWare team, and then we'll throw it back to you, Leanne.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I hope you all have a great weekend. It's been wonderful. And yes, Eric, we're going to do a repeat of the other one.
I think we will. I'll be prepared this time. And I'm very sorry again for today. That bug really set me off there. It really cut the momentum. So
that
I'm
is
sorry
okay.
about that.
What we know is you work on getting those things fixed. So that is
Yeah.
the nice thing. If it happens to you, you know who to talk to get that work done.
There you go. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure again talking to you guys.